Guys, this is Kirk Thor, and he is a really, really good coach in the DFW area, Lake Ridge High School in Mansfield, Texas. Great reputation, been doing it a long time. We've been friends for a while. He joined Fast and Wide, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm the one who's got the most blessing out of that relationship because I got to know Kirk, and he is a grinder and is going to just turn over every stone to make things right. And we were talking, I guess, Kurt, was it on a podcast? And you were just on there, and it might have been the podcast, Make It the Best Time of Their Day. I
Yeah.
can't remember. And these are informal type of podcasts where if you want to bring something up, we'll bring you in. And Kirk started talking about his 4 t-shirt system and blew my mind in a good way. And I'm like, we got to have a podcast. So, Kirk, tell us a little bit about how long you've coached, where you are, something someone would need to know about you, and then help introduce Coach Wardell.
Well, first of all, thanks, Randy, for being on here. And the feeling's mutual. I've learned way more from you than you have from me. So it's good. It's always good to have people you can get better from. So I appreciate that in these podcasts. Yeah, so I'm in year, I think, 32 of coaching. I've been in Mansfield ISD for 22, I believe. So 14 years here at Lake Ridge. We opened the school 14 years ago. It's fun to open a school. I've always said do it once, never do it twice. It's good, but it takes a lot out of you. Before that, I was the assistant AD in the district for 4 years. And then prior to that, I was the head football coach at Mansfield High for 4. And so 22 years here in the district, 4 or 5 places before I got to Mansfield. But Mansfield's where our kids went to school and we raised our families. So this is home. It's been a really good place. Lake Ridge has been a great place. Danny Wardell is our strength coach. He is on year, what are you, 4? Coach Wardell?
Third year, just finished third year of football.
Third year. Man, he's been a great hire for our campus. We've got over 1,000 student athletes on the campus, and he works with every sport and every athlete. He's got experience in the WNBA as a strength coach. He's been a Division I strength coach in college. He's coached in high school. He's a kid magnet. Really, really good with our kids, and he can adapt to any sport. You want a guy who's got his hair on fire, he'll do that. You want to calm down and bring the golf team in and be calm, he can do that. But he's really, really good. He's really good with motivating our kids. They love working for him. The weight room to them is exciting. They love to go in there because he's there. He's the one that put all the details and the nuts and bolts, the system and the 4-shirt system for us. We got the idea really from our AD. It was just kind of something that happened from an idea, and then we brought it back, and Danny Wardell took it and ran with it and did a great job. So that's kind of where we're from and kind of where it came from.
It's hard for me to say this because I work with a lot of coaches from other states, but the bigger districts in Texas have their own strength coaches now. And I never had one, but it's incredible. So, Danny, all you do, I assume, is you're like a college strength coach and you're out there all day serving kids.
Yeah, all day long. We're on a block schedule. So based on the teams, it's either in-season or off-season workouts. And then we can utilize the 60 minutes before or after school as well. But yeah, I'm basically nonstop coaching all day long based on those teams. And like I said, those schedule that they have.
Normally, before I do a podcast, I get into Chat GPT and I kind of come up with some questions, and I want this to be a discussion. I want people to come here and feel like they're in the coach's office. That's why I invite people to sit in live. But I didn't do that this time. But I'm going to start with you, Danny. What is the difference in coaching the WNBA and coaching high school kids, and what is similar?
There's a lot of differences. High school kids have such a low training age. So more basic strength training for me is vastly more important than WNBA players who really don't get an off season. They're playing year round, they're playing overseas, or they were playing overseas when I was there. So a lot of that is just maintenance work. But what I did take from the WNBA is that relationship piece, because you have to be on the same page as those professional athletes, how they're feeling from a day-to-day basis, and then kind of adjust your plan based off of that. So that's kind of a good takeaway for me, was that relationship piece.
Now, Danny, I may have missed this, but I grew up on the Texas-Louisiana border. Where are you from?
I'm from the north of England, a town called Huddersfield.
See, guys, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I knew he wasn't from around here. And that's interesting to me. I think it's fascinating. 4 years ago, Danny, I went to Europe for 6 months. I'd never been over there before, never been on a train. And Europe is a fascinating place.
So, funnily enough, one of
Yeah.
my former teammates from England was on your coaching staff there as well.
No, who was that?
David Saul.
Okay. Yeah. Coach Salt.
Yep.
He's the one that hired me.
Right.
Kirk, let's go this route. Sorry, guys, but I don't get to talk to Europeans much, and I'm sort of an honorary European being over there 6 months. Before the shirt system, how did you know who the best player on your team was? Who was the hardest working player, and who was improving the most? How'd you know that before the four shirt system?
We thought we knew it, right? You look at the kid and say he works hard, or I think he's strong. We'd see some maxes maybe, or we'd see him on the field. But I tell you what opened our eyes was the testing opened our eyes to kids who you may miss and go, wow, they've got a lot more strength or a lot more speed, or they're better at the 5-10-5 here. It was really good for us to evaluate every single kid. So, it was really kind of subjective before that. We think as coaches, we can look at a kid and evaluate him on the field, and we can. But I mean, we had one of our kids last year. I had no idea he was as strong as he could. He's going to play at Rice. He's graduating this spring. He signed with Rice, and we were like, whoa, and he blew the test out of the water. And we knew he was athletic, but we didn't realize just how athletic he was until we put all the testing numbers together. So it really gave us some hard data to knowing where our kids are, and also moving around by position. Where do they fit better? Let's move them around and put them in a great place. So it's helped us a lot because of that, more than I ever thought it would.
And how long have y'all been doing the four shirt system?
This is year two.
Okay.
Year two, so
All right.
it's new.
So we're going to get into this, y'all, but I believe in t-shirts. I love me some t-shirts. If you need to get some kids to go do something, let's say you're having a track meet and you need some kids to volunteer. They don't want to do that. But if you say, guys, I need you for 5 hours and I'll give you a t-shirt, they will do it. They will. T-shirts are just, and they're my love language. T-shirts are a big deal. So I love the fact that this 4 t-shirt system involves what they love. And I love the fact that kids know where they stand. And I'm a big believer in ratings. I wear an Apple Watch because whenever I walk my 7,000 steps, which Danny, please don't judge me. I know that's not many, but I work on a computer. But when I get my 7,000 steps, fireworks go off and it says, good job, Randy. I mean, we all want to know where we stand, what we've accomplished. So take us, Kirk and Danny, take us through when you decided to do the 4 shirt system and how it evolved.
Well, I'll give you the big picture, and then I'll hand it off to Danny because he put it all together. A year and a half ago, when we were done with the season, I had a meeting with our athletic director, and I wanted something to have a ranking system for our kids. And there was an old Virginia Tech ranking system back in the Frank Beamer days, a strength coach he had, and they had this Division I standards, right? A linebacker Division I standard. So I looked at that. Well, I took that into the meeting, and our AD said, hey, look, I've been in a system. I've got some buddies who are in a system where they get rankings, and it was a battalion system, and they wear shirts, and this is a little bit different. So I thought, man, that's a great idea. So we took that and ran with it. But I tell you why we did it from a big picture. We always had a boot camp called Green Dawn. Mm-hmm. So boot camps, and Carlos mentioned this, you got to tailor it to your kids. The end result is what you want, but there's certain things you got to tailor to your kids. We had done Green Dawn for a long time at Lake Ridge, and boot camp in our kids' mind became an event with a start and an end. And we had to make it a lifestyle. So when we came back, Danny took it and ran with it. Let's just make Green Dawn be off season. So there were things we took from boot camp that we wanted, the standing tall on a line, making sure they're dressed and sitting in line, 7 minutes to get dressed, all that. And that's all year round for us. So we took those type of disciplines and put it into the Iron Eagle testing system. And so that just became who we are. So anyway, we came back and Danny sat down. He'll tell you about the details, but we knew we wanted to test in the weight room lifts, and we wanted a gut run, a 220-yard run to test some kind of mental toughness. And then we wanted a 40 and a 5-10-5. So we just came in and we were going to go with t-shirts. And I said, well, we're going to let the kids vote. So the kids chose what color t-shirts, what kind of t-shirts. So we had the kids come in and we voted on it. So they voted on it. Everybody had a vote. So ours is black is the highest, then green, then orange, then yellow. And they decided what they wanted. So the kids had immediate buy-in. They wanted camouflage shirts. So we got those made. So we bought 200 of them, put them in the equipment room, and then we hand them out every time we test. We test in December, February, and April. And we hand them out to those kids that we can test. And so Danny, we probably spent hours in my office going through it and fine tuning the details of what fit us. But why we did it was we wanted a visible representation to celebrate what kids were doing well. And when they wear those t-shirts every day in athletic period, everybody sees it.
And in Texas, we get athletic periods. Again, I'm sorry, guys, we're spoiled. But these guys are wearing these shirts during the athletic period, correct?
Correct.
So if you test at, I don't know the number, 82, then you're stuck with that for 3 months or however long.
Yeah, you test in December and then you test again in February. So if you earn a shirt in December and you're hurt in February, sorry, you don't test, you don't get a shirt for the next testing time. So you got to be there to win.
So you don't get to keep your last shirt. You just don't get one.
No, they turn them in right before the next test and we hand them back out and we do it in front of the team. We stand up and announce their names and they go over and get their shirt. It's a big deal. Coach Wardell comes down and announces them for the kids. And then the kids who are failing a class, they get their shirt and they get awarded. And then they walk into my office and they give me the shirt back. And I keep the shirt until their grades go up the next 3 weeks. And they hate that. So they know right away they're checking grades when testing day comes. So that helps us as well.
All right. So Danny, I want you to go, but Justin, get ready, because after Danny talks a little bit about the evolution, I'm going to talk about how you got your job. So get ready, Justin. So Danny, tell us, what were the biggest challenges? Put us in the office when y'all designed it.
I think when we looked at that Virginia Tech standards, one of the big challenges was applying it to the high school kids and applying it to our population down here. Because a lot of the time, we were trying to make it something the kids can read and follow along. Whereas the first draft we put out was more of a percentage of the high score, and there wasn't really a set point system in place that they could follow. Because we wanted to have them be able to follow the scale and know that if I improve this much, I get half a point, or I improve this much, I get a point here. So it had to be something that the kids could work towards and understand and see as they work their way up there trying to earn shirts. And then the scale is fit to the athletes we have at Lake Ridge football. Like our system will work anywhere, but the scale would probably need to be adjusted based on the school where you're at. And then we wanted the top of the scale is basically the elite level for this high school, something achievable for our elite kids, but then our kind of other kids at least have a chance to get that first level of t-shirt. So it's something, like I said, it's very achievable for our population. And then we can, like Coach said earlier, we can put those kids into rankings. We can rank it by 40. We can rank it by points.
Okay, so just for the general person watching this, how many players are we talking about are in the program?
In the fall, we have 250. When we lose the seniors, we're right at about 185, 190 in the offseason. So we're talking about 185, 190.
Wow. How many kids, Danny, of the 190 get a shirt?
I want to say after our last testing is about 30, 35 in a shirt right now. And then we'll test again next week.
Okay. So there's 150 guys, y'all, who don't qualify for the bottom shirt?
Correct, yeah.
Wow. Okay. And
It's interesting what we found, Randy, it's just by doing it is I have a visual right away of how much stronger we've gotten in the offseason without looking at a data sheet. Mm-hmm. We're sitting at 30. We're going to test starting next Friday. And after that, we're probably going to have 20 more kids get shirts. And kids are going to jump up in levels. So you see a visible, we may have 2 orange shirts in December, and we may end up with 6 by the time we hit April at one of the highest. Those kids are all getting better, and they see it. And they're running around going, Coach, I just need half a point. I just need half a point. Like last year, we had some linemen running the gut test after school on their own because they just needed an extra 10 yards. And so they'll go in the weight room and lift extra, or they'll go in there on the week of testing. Coach, can I just try it one more time? I just need half a point. But we can visually see by number of shirts how much stronger we've gotten in the offseason, and the kids can see it. When everybody stands up, they start to ooh and ah because so many more names are being read. That's what they really like.
Someone told me this the other day, that kids get the same dopamine hit from a post they make on social media that gets a bunch of likes, that's the same dopamine that I used to get in 1985 when I scored a touchdown in high school. And this shirt, just dopamine release, it's flooding, right? When they get these shirts. And because when I'll say this, when y'all first said 150 kids weren't getting shirts, my first thought was, ooh, wow, that's a bunch not getting shirts. Like, but what do y'all think? And either one of you guys can answer this. With today's kids, if they got the bottom shirt, are they going to be satisfied? You know, after the first test, if instead of 35 head shirts, let's say 75 head shirts and a bunch were on the bottom rung, are they satisfied or are they just striving so hard to go up?
Go ahead, Dan.
I guess in general, when a kid gets a shirt, is he okay or is he dying to go up?
Well, you also have to maintain a certain testing standard to re-earn that shirt on the next testing date as well. But I think our kids are always pushing for that next level.
All right, so guys, I'm going to bring in Coach Velasquez. And if y'all haven't listened to Coach Velasquez's podcast with me about the 4-minute warm-up, it's incredible. And really, we just talked about what do you do your first week on the job. So Justin was my best receiver when I became the head football coach at Mesquite Poteet. And so I coached Justin, and then he was an assistant coach with me at North Forney. He's special to me. He'll be somebody that'll be a pallbearer at my funeral one day. He's that type of dude in my life. And after Kirk came on to the podcast and talked about the 4-shirt system, probably within 30 minutes, I'm like, Justin, you need to know about this 4-shirt system. Tell us, Justin, when you started it. Tell us when you took the job at Brazosport, and tell us about your 4-shirt system.
Yeah, I took over right after Christmas break, and I'd say week 3, I brought it to the coaches and we discussed it. And it's funny, we got to the points and we're discussing, you know, what we need to change, this and that. And I just stopped the conversation and I'm like, y'all, somebody way smarter than us has already done all this for us. Like, we don't have to do all that. And I got in contact with Coach Thor, asked his permission to use it. And I mean, it's one of the best things that I've ever done, because we're talking about, it's good to see that this kid can do this kid can do that. I didn't know that kid was that good in this area. But for me, it's seeing the intangibles of who is just hungry to be rewarded, right? Like, who is frustrated with failure and expecting more out of themselves, right? Like, I think I got this from Thor. And it sounds like you guys have testing days. We have testing days as well, but those testing days are the only times that they can get a number during the period. And for me, our hardest thing here, where I'm at, was the before and after school attendance with the kids. And this has almost fixed all of that, because they'll be in attendance at the before or after school stuff, and that last 20 minutes will open it up for them to get a new number on whatever they need. And with them knowing that's the only time that they can get it, I've got 60 kids in my period, but I'll have over 30 at 6:15 in the morning, which is unheard of here, because they want to retest. And it's the 30. I'm seeing which 30 of them are the ones that I'm going to be counting on. You know, I'll also say I make them post like in a Sports U kind of thing. What do you got? What is the goal for the week? Give me something you're going to focus on. I had a young man tell me that his long-term goal was to get to the next cone in the 25-second run. But he said his short-term goal was sometime during the week he wants to show up early and get 3 feet closer to it. It opened up a door for a conversation of goal setting, and he understands that it might take him a while to get to that next 10 meters. But if I can just get a little bit closer to it my next time, I know I'm doing good and I'm growing. And to your point, I've got 4 kids in a shirt right now. And so it sounds like the numbers kind of match up.
Yeah, and when you test again, when are you testing?
We'll test again in a couple of weeks. I say 4. We just tested. We got through with our last test today on our second go around. Now, our first go around, I just used the numbers they already had. So this week was the first time that we've tested as I've been there. So we'll see what that 4 turned into. I can already tell that we're going to have more because we had a couple that were right there. And that's what I like about the steps is when you look at the number system, the steps are pretty close to each other, but it takes a lot of effort just to get a half a point. So it's like you got guys scratching and clawing for a fraction of points. Sometimes that's just what life feels like. Sometimes it takes a lot of effort to see a little bit of result, and it's teaching them that. And it's been great. And I'm so glad that Thor brought this to us and gave me permission to use it, and it's going to take our team to the next level.
All right, Coach, quick break. What you're hearing about right now is amazing. The 4-shirt system. I love it. That's why Coach Thor is on our podcast. And it tracks everything physical that makes kids strive to be better. This is why I'm releasing an app called Arena OVR May 1st, because it's going to track things just like the 4-shirt system does, but it's also going to include student, teammate, and citizen. Your players will be rated from 0 to 99, and they will strive just like these shirts, but they will be able to get plus and minus points from assistant principals, teachers. I mean, if they're tardy, someone at the front desk will be able to ding their OVR. If you want real accountability in your program in an app that will be right in their wheelhouse, Arena OVR is going to be the app for you. It's coming out May 1st. Find out more information on CoachRandyJackson.com. Now back to the episode. So anyone who's listening to this who didn't get the email, they're probably like, we probably need to explain this from the basics. So Danny, tell us what all are we, when we kind of went into the testing, but y'all Danny, take us to the week of testing and what the kids will do that week. Give us kind of a calendar of events.
So on a normal week, one day will be the field testing. So 40s, 5, 10, 5 and the gut run. We'll do one day of bench and clean in the weight room, and then we'll take squat. We'll have its own day in the weight room as well.
So 3 days.
3 days of testing, yeah. Sometimes we move squat around based on what else is going on with track and all that other stuff. Sometimes, like this next week of testing, we'll stop Friday, but we'll finish the following week just because we got track going on and all these other things that we need to obviously take care of kids with.
So I sent the email out this morning, and a friend of mine from Louisiana responded and said, the gut run is awesome. And so tell us, y'all, about the gut run.
So, yeah, we do a 25-second run, basically from back of the end zone. You got to run to the other back of the end zone, touch your hand on the ground, and then get back as far as you can in 25 seconds. So we're really looking at effort, since the word gut is in there. And it's kind of really just seeing how challenging you are willing to push your anaerobic energy system and how far you really can get in that time. And I think it really gives us a good indication of how in shape they are from a base fitness standpoint.
And players, the only way they can improve is to come before or after school and retest. Do y'all let them retest on anything or just the gut run?
We'll let them retest on anything during that kind of testing week. Some kids are absent. Some may have exams on those days that they need to make up. So usually that testing week, if they miss it or if they're really not happy with it, we'll let them try it again that week. But once that week is ended, then that test is done.
Okay. So they get to retest before or after school, but man, they don't get to retest forever, just that week.
Yes, correct. Because then we need to put the rankings in place, and then we need to give out shirts that Monday.
Okay.
Well, when we do the gut run too, when we do that, they run from back of the end zone to back of the end zone, but we line everybody up down one hash and everybody else down the sideline. And so they run in the gauntlet. All those kids are watching them, and they were running maybe 5 to 10 at a time. And then I'm at the back of the end zone at the line saying, touch the line. If they miss that line with their hand, we take 10 yards off their final run. So they've got to do that right. So it's just everything. They're in front of people, they're in front of their teammates. There's a lot of pressure. We want to add all that we can. So the gut run tests a whole lot of stuff. It's worked well for us. It's easy to manage too.
Oh,
It's
I
easier than
love
a
it.
track just because of numbers.
I just assumed it was on the track. So we got, okay, we're going back to 190. And so we got 190, we got 95 kids on the sideline. We got 95 kids on the hash, and we got coaches, and they're starting in the back of the end zone, and they're going to run 120 yards, right, to the other back of the end zone. They're going to touch the line, and they're going to see how far they can get before the whistle blows.
And once the whistle blows, we have a coach at every 10 yards, and they've got a list of, Danny puts together a list of every kid. As soon as they get there, he just checks off the kid's name. It's already got the yardage on there. We turn it in. But we divide them into two groups now so we can get it done in time. So we have two groups in the offseason. We call them the SEC and the Big 12. One group does the weight room test while the other one's on the field. And the next day we flip it. So it cuts our numbers in half so we can get a lot of it done. We'll have 40 stations. And so that way we can get it done and not waste too much time and do 2 weeks worth. We can get it done in 3 days.
Here's another thing I want to point out. I've done 50-second runs my whole career, but every time you blow the whistle, kids, and they don't act, they're going to take 3 more steps and say, this is where they were. And, you have to kind of catch them and, you back up. But what y'all do, you put a coach at every 10 yards, and it doesn't matter where they get within that 10 yards. When that whistle blows, their mark is the last coach they passed.
That's right. That's right.
Really good.
One thing we do is we don't run all receivers at the same time. We'll pick one from each position group so that those kids are spread out when they finish. Because if you run all your receivers together, they're probably all going to finish within a 20 to 30 yard zone. So when we have O-line, receivers, D-line, they're all spread out so our coaches can kind of gather them up a little bit easier too.
Yeah. See, that's stuff that helps coaches. That's really good. All right. So is there anything different about your testing other than they know? So let's say a kid squats. When he gets that squat, he squats 400 pounds. Does he know right then, this is how many points it's going to help me get to the shirt?
Yeah, we put the grid on the TV screens in here. So the workout, the directions for how to max out on squat are up there. And then there's a table in the corner that says basically what points you get for that lift.
Okay. Can we talk about how a coach can implement this system? I don't want you guys to get a million emails. I don't want you to get 13. I mean, I guess it'd be okay, but let's talk about how back to the coach's office. I love what Justin said. We're talking about how to score it and all. So tell us about the point system and let us wrap our brain around that.
Yeah, Danny, tell them how you came up with that. You came up with an easy system for kids to see it.
Like I said earlier, the first draft was pretty complicated. It was all percent based. And if you squatted 305, you'd get a certain percent, and it would be out of, 100 from an average percent point. But it was like 10 points is the elite level for this high school. So if you can squat 500, you get 10 points. If you can run a 4.4 40-yard dash, 10 points. And then it has to be something with increments that are not too high, not too low. So we wanted something that's achievable, whereas, the one our first draft was just far too complicated that the kids would not have been able to follow along to it and kind of track where they're at. We put this in our football sports U. The kids can see it. They know, okay, if I get 270 on clean, that's 8 points. If I get 300 on this, that's 6 points. And they can know to track it and then total it up. And then we wanted something that's achievable for most of our kids. And then those top 2 t-shirts are something that's like our elite kids from an athletic standpoint, if they're up in there in the black shirt and the green shirt. And what we also implemented was a offensive line, defensive line bonus point system, because it's not always easy for some of those guys to get fast, get good gut run time. So if those guys are able to max out essentially the top end of our clean bench and squat testing, they'll get additional bonus points for that to kind of bring them up as well.
Oh, love it. And do y'all account for what grade a kid is? Like or okay, let's say this. A kid squats 400 pounds, but this kid weighs 150 and this kid weighs 250. Does that come into account, their weight?
No, because usually the speed will balance all that out.
I got you. Okay.
I tell you the fun thing on that too. I'll tell you some pitfalls we hit and some good things. You mentioned grades. If I'm a freshman and I'm going through the off season and I don't get a shirt, I may get a shirt my sophomore year. It shows how those kids are growing because they may not get one their freshman year. We have some that did, but some aren't there yet. And so they see the progression of athletes. When you look at our older kids, there's a lot higher percentage of our kids who are varsity football players versus the kids who were ninth or JV the year before. It's just the percentage how it works out that way. And so those kids I've got 4 years to figure out how I'm going to get there and what I'm going to do. So we tested in December. And Danny and I meet probably every morning for an hour. And so we got done with our December testing. And I was like, oh my goodness, I guess February was, right? February testing. And we didn't go up a whole lot in maxes. And I called him and I said, what are we doing? I mean, come on, we got to get some in the Thor reaction, right? We got to have improvement. Well, what I found out is that, like on a squat, for instance, you've got to go from 400 to 425 when you're on the upper level to get another point. What we found out is in the weight room is I had heard those kids when they were maxing, if they squatted 400 back in December, instead of trying to get a 415 max, they were trying to jump to 425 to get the point. So what looked like we were still the same at 400 was we were getting stronger, but they were jumping up so high in their max to try to get that point to compete that we were gaining strength that we didn't see in the point system. So we had, it was interesting that those kids wanted the point so much. So I went from, man, we're not getting stronger to we are getting stronger. They're just trying to take such a leap because they want that shirt and they're competing for it. So we're telling them, hey, just get what you can get,
Okay. So this is a story here, sort of. A good friend of mine is John Perry, and you know him, Kirk, and he had the two highest rated offensive linemen maybe in the country. One was in Nixa, Missouri, and he went to Miami. And one was on Kirk's team last year at Lake Ridge, and he's going to Texas Tech and going to make millions in NIL. But here's the story. The kid in Nixa, they had an Iron Eagle award, something, I know yours is Iron Eagle, but they were the Eagles. And they had some kind of award where you got this WWE belt and you got to put it on and get that big dopamine drop and take pictures. And this kid never won it. And he told his coach, and this is a kid getting millions in NIL at Miami, that he's still mad he never won that award. Like, it bothers him. The kid you have that's going to Texas Tech, who's 5-star, without this 4-shirt system, kids like that can go through the program and be good kids and sort of just, I mean, they're who they are and they come to practice every day. But with this system, this kid has to work his butt off or he's not going to have a black shirt, correct?
I mean, Dave, you want to address that? Because that was how we adjusted our point system because of that reason right there. Because of Felix. You want to talk about that, Danny? The big boy points and all that?
Yeah, so with talking with our O-line coach, we kind of realized it wasn't really fair to those guys. They have to beat 5.5 in the 40 just to get points in that. So we wanted to reward those guys that got really strong and give those bonus points so that they can jump up in shirts. Like the kid we're talking about only had a yellow shirt, but when we added in the bonus points, he was able to jump up a little bit to the orange point. And we've seen that with quite a few of our D-line and O-line where, they're getting a chance to compete rather than just being, oh, I'm stuck at the yellow shirt, the 4th ranked shirt. Now they know they can kind of max out our strength scale and improve and earn those higher shirts.
Okay, so can someone listening to this, how can they do the 4-shirt system? Do they have to contact you guys for the formula or can they make it themselves? Kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, it's something you can make yourself. I mean, a lot of us are okay with Google Sheets or Excel spreadsheets and that. But one thing I would say is the system will work anyway, but the scale may not work everywhere. Like if you follow our scale and every kid gets a T-shirt, the first time you test, it's probably not the right scale. Or if no kid gets a T-shirt, it's probably not the right scale. So it's something that maybe need to be adjusted from program to program.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd add on that, Randy. I think Justin hit it perfectly when he talked earlier. he took the system and adapted it to what he needed at his kids. It helped attendance. It helped all that. I think the system is give them t-shirts, let them earn t-shirts, whatever, however you want them to earn it. Find out what you want to test, find out what the highest level is you want them to get. And then what do you think the minimum level is? Segment it out and put the points down and see. I mean, like for our kids, once they squat 500, they're done. We don't want them to squat any more than 500. You're done. And so, but because we didn't start with those points, it was the first test we had to kind of change it and get to where we are now. Just find what you want to reward your kids for. Use the 4 t-shirt system for whatever you want. Danny and I talked this morning. I told him, I said, you know what? I said, we need to do some 4 t-shirt program during the season because they don't wear the Iron Eagle shirts during the season. So I want to reward classroom, wearing your IDs. I want to show some visible in the season of who's doing what we're asking to do in the little things off the football field that we all harp on. Well, let's just put the t-shirt system into that. So the system you can plug into whatever you want for your kids. And I think that's the beauty of it is you can't use everybody else's system. You got to fit your own kids. And then whatever you want to emphasize, that's what you make it happen.
Yeah. With Chat GPT and things like that, I think we could all put in something and figure out a point system. The beauty of this podcast is in December, February, and April at Lake Ridge High School in Mansfield, Texas, they're going to test and kids are going to strain to get a better t-shirt. Kirk told me this on the other podcast. He'll see kids after school working on the gut run before the testing just to prepare for it because t-shirts are their love language and it's powerful. Hey, before we close this out, Kirk, you and Danny, y'all are going to get a last word, but my friend Kyle texted me and said, I've got a neat system for small school coaches they can't put coaches at every 10 yards to measure the gut run. What is that, Kyle?
Randy, can you hear me?
It honestly sounds like you've got a record playing backwards and Satan is talking.
It was a different system, but we just videoed it.
Okay, I could hear that. So what he did was at a small school, he videoed the gut run and he could just get it down to the yard. And that is a great idea. If you're a small school, I love the 10 yards and all that, but if you don't have that, video it. And because again, they are going to cheat on that and we need to be accurate. So Danny, if there's going to be guys listening to this, they're going to be interested in it and they're going to probably implement it this summer. What's the one piece of advice that they got to do to make this good?
I would say, like Coach mentioned, make the scale work for you. Because if you do all this testing and all this extra effort to make a Google sheet or an Excel spreadsheet and no one gets a t-shirt, that's probably not the best use of time. So like I said, it has to be a scale that works for you.
Danny, if you're new and you're in Wisconsin and they don't get an athletic period, and the states that don't get an athletic period, they really get more time in the summer. Would you test June 1st? And that way we could kind of go, okay, guys, does anybody qualify for a shirt? And then test again, maybe I'm throwing a number out there, July 10th. And then now we could see how many more shirts we got. Do you think that's a viable option?
I wouldn't like that just because summer for us is completely voluntary and we don't know everyone would show up. And for me, summer is preparing for the season. Like we're full mode getting ready for the season. So I think that needs to be the focus of June, July for us.
So you're saying you would be okay with testing at the beginning and then testing again in the middle for shirts in the summer?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Kirk? What's your advice to my buddy Tom in Eau Claire? What's he got to do to make this thing great this summer?
Yeah. I mean, what we got from the idea that was given to us, obviously, on this thing is that just measure what you treasure. I mean, whatever is important that you want for your kids in your program, measure it and just put a t-shirt system in place. Whatever tests those are in the off season so they can have improvement. And it's kept our kids focused in an off season where a lot of times they can lose focus. It's kept their focus on a daily basis. I mean, they run in that weight room. They are excited because they know they got one more day to get closer, and even on the field running. I would just say whatever's important in your program, just use the system to measure that. And that will help take care of the motivation and be able to celebrate kids that celebrate the things you want.
Yep. It's awesome. Anybody got a question for Danny or Kirk? Set in and listen to this greatness. Well, this podcast will help people tremendously. The shirt idea is incredible. And I'm grateful for both of you guys for spending some time today with us. Man, this is what this podcast is about, helping head coaches improve their program. And I'm with you. You got to figure out a way to use the shirts during the season, because if you get a negative email from a teacher and it affects their shirt, they're going to act better the next day. So thank you guys. I'm grateful. Danny, I appreciate you. Kirk, as always, man, thanks for getting us better.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on here.
All right, guys,
Thank you.
have a great weekend.